There it is.
Well, welcome to the November 29th, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and HAMSI technical session. My name is Dave, KB0S, and this week been dealing with some health issues in the family, but did get a few of my computer things up and working. So been pleased with that. So that's about it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. Just trying to keep up with everything as usual in the semester. I'm working on writing a bunch of things. Really good news. I heard back from the ARDC today. We got the additional funding we requested for the HAMSI workshop. So I now have almost $75,000 in support from ARDC and the National Science Foundation for the HAMSI workshop. Yep. So this is really good news. And that means that I have to get the HAMSI website up in very short order so we can start collecting abstracts and getting things in order. But I think that will happen. My goal is to get set before the AGU meeting in early December or mid-December, I guess. So that's coming up. I have been working with the people at Scranton. We are getting the menu set and the hotel set. So we should be in good shape. So back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Jules, K2KGJ. Go ahead, Jules.
Good evening, everybody. Fairly quiet week. Wasn't a boisterous Thanksgiving, fairly quiet one. And not much to report here, just trying to get the last few things done outside before the real cold hits. And that's about it from here. Back to net.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is Mike, AAAK. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, thank you, and greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
Fine business. And next on the list is Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Good evening to the net. Couple of small things related to this project. I realized that on the uploader that uploader that you're using, Dave, for
yes,
uploading magnetometer data, it's not reasonable to ask people to edit the source code to set those variables and everything. So what I've done is I've come up with new versions of the uploaders where there's a config file.
Okay.
And you edit the config file. And the nice thing about the Python config file, you put comments in there to indicate
yes,
what things are and where they come from. So trying to make it a little bit more user friendly. It's never going to be really user friendly because it's just a complicated thing to do. But anyway, so I'll send you.
Is it possible to create like a web interface for setting those parameters? Because that's something people would be very used to doing. If you just have a link on there where it brings up a web page, you fill out the web page and you can automate some of the authentication and things like that.
It's not impossible, but it's a major project to do that.
Right.
It'd be like a revamping of the architecture of the grape. So I mean, that's what I do that on the Tangerine, but you got to install a lot of stuff and get a lot of stuff working. It's a major project. But anyway, so also I'm preparing a write-up for John Gibbons on how to set up. He wants to be a beta tester to convert one of his grape ones to collect digital RF data and upload it. And so I'm putting together a documentation, that documentation can serve dual purposes when we bring other people on board for that. And also my students are working, we're going to put the download splitter into production next week, probably, so that when you go in and look at an observation, one of the big observations, which typically the grape and tangerine observations wind up being huge. What we'll do is we'll give the option to pick out what day or days you want to download, so it won't try and package 40 gigabytes to download to you. So anyway,
That's very kind.
So that's the news from here. Back to Ned.
Well, very good. And if you want me to test your new config file, just let me know and I'll help you.
We'll do it.
And next on the list is David, N1 HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening to the net. Well, this past week was not what I expected. I got a call on Tuesday that my father's email was down. And oh, by the way, he has a cold. He doesn't get colds. And I thought, uh-oh. So I go over there. Turns out his modem had died, his cable modem. So I was able to get that replaced, but I took some tests over. He had COVID.
Yeah.
And I was wearing an E95 mask, KN95 mask the whole time when I was over there. But I ended up getting it myself. God, that stuff is contagious. So didn't go to Thanksgiving as I planned, which was a good thing because that evening I started getting symptoms. Didn't actually test positive until Saturday, but the symptoms were there and they were real. So Saturday, Sunday was kicking it, used Paxlovid. I'm okay, seem to be okay now, but it's been an interesting trip and others are still dealing with it. So that was been my week, but I did notice Tom sent pictures of the patch for the clock module and looked, I'm glad to see that worked. So I'm glad progress is happening on the prototype. So back to net.
Dave, did your dad recover okay?
Yeah, my dad's doing okay too.
Okay.
We're all fully vaccinated with the bivalent,
Mhm.
and I got him Paxlovid,
Okay.
and he seems to be doing fine. Not bad for 93 years old.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is good luck.
Okay, next on the list is, let's see, things jumped around a little bit. David, KE5DPZ. Go ahead, David.
Well, hopefully you won't be hearing the Central Texas traffic net this week. You'll hear the scanner in the background. Have nothing new for this part of the conversation. Just having fun playing radios and getting Whisper back up online. Sounds encouraging, the progress y'all have made so far. It's back to net, KE5DPZ.
Thank you very much, David. And next on the list is Hillman KD2 MCR. Go ahead, Hillman.
Hello, everyone. Not so much to report. I've been pretty busy with organizing AGU meeting, mini gem workshop that is going to be happening before AGU and everything. Still working on the minor terminal data sets for interhemispheric asymmetry studies to understand how geomagnetic activity occur in both hemispheres. So that's my major research topic these days. But other than that, there's not so much to report. So back to that.
Okay, and next on the list is James, KG4DSG. Go ahead, James.
Evening, Dave and the group. Not a lot going on here. Taking some days off of work and enjoying it immensely. I did have a question for Nathaniel. You mentioned the HAMSI workshop. Do you have tentative dates for that? Is that going to be mid-March?
I
with
do
that?
have, I have dates. I can tell you the dates.
Okay.
It's going to be March 17th and 18th, 2023.
Okay. Got that marked. Back to the net. Thank you.
Okay, next on the list is, let's see where it was. Jay, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, hello, everybody. Happy post-13 day to all my fraternal brothers. Nothing particularly new here, amateur radio wise, but thank you for mentioning the date. Question, Nathaniel, do you know if Christina is still going to be participating in the grape, or is she handing that off to someone else?
She will be handing that off. There's a new PhD student named Rachel Bodeker.
Ah,
I think it is likely, it is not guaranteed, but I think it's very likely that Christina will still be involved in HamSci in various ways. She will be starting a postdoc where she's going to be working on like 3D visualization or sonification of magnetometer data. And that's funded through the National Science Foundation Office of Polar Programs. So if her work there, I have left an open invitation for her that if she would like to continue to pursue the citizen science sorts of aspects, she is certainly welcome to use the HamSci platform and participate and be involved. And I certainly hope that she will.
okay. Regarding the HamSci conference, is there going to be a link or were you getting special rates with a hotel or anything like that? Is that on the web or going to be sent out?
That will be sent out. That is being negotiated right now with the hotel. So I sent another email about that this morning. So hopefully we will get that. The hotel will be the Radisson Scranton Hotel, which is the one directly next to the university, and it's the one that's the old train station. So
Okay. And okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
I hope everybody is doing well and had a good gobble day. The only thing I've been here really busy with the last several days, nothing amateur radio wise, just more cybersecurity stuff with the Society of Automotive Engineers, trying to, how should we say, migrate and adopt a commercial, some international standards that we want to migrate to the SAE domain that I'm working on and adopt and not reinvent the wheel, but enhance. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. Other than that, hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. Take care, everybody. Back to net, WB8SBI.
Very good. And next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening. We did not have a quiet Turkey Day. Thankfully, it was full of noise and merriment with granddaughters as young as 2 years old here. And unfortunately, I have not gotten anything done much with ham radio or this project other than continuing to run the grape one. Back to net.
Very good. And next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening, Dave, and everyone on the net. Not doing much here either, except a lot of keep busy stuff. And the grape has not shown much in the way of solar activity or other unusual happenings recently. Thank you, Dave.
Very good. And next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I have been, I haven't really been doing all that much, but I did. There were a couple interesting things worth mentioning. So I sent out an email for the SAQ transmission. So I did a power integration for the for the durations of the test transmissions, and I didn't get anything at all. That made sense, because David said he also didn't get anything either, and I also didn't hear of any QSOs from people in the US with this SAQ transmission. So the hope is that they will do another transmission Christmas Eve, and hopefully that is a high enough power that we can make some QSOs here in the US. Secondly, the GPS module that I use in my VLF system, the Trimble Res SMT 360, it started working again. Nathaniel had to rearrange some power and replug the to plug in the VLF system into another UPS, because it failed, and the pulse per second signal came back. So I put it on GPS, and everything was working from that point on. It was until tonight when I just went to check it, and it is jittering again. So it's actually right now it's been pretty stable right now, but just a couple moments earlier it was the trailing it, the leading edge was shifting, and it looks like the factory reset that I did remotely, or at least try to, did not work, because if that was the case, then I would be losing the signal. But actually it is jittering right now, and I could I could share it. So right now it's not doing anything, and yeah, just as I went to share it, oh no, it just did it now. So that little jump causes the software to lose its place, because it looks outside the window. So there's some things that I want to try to remedy this problem. I don't know. I'm not really sure what else we can do here, but there are some other things I would like to try, like maybe try the other antenna that Nathaniel has. Lastly, I was going through the VLF server that was actually collecting data from the VLF system, which is just another server PC. And one of the events captured something really odd, or at least that I did not see on the system before. What it was a discrete rising tone, and it was weird because it looked natural in origin, but I wasn't really used to seeing it. So I'll share that spectrogram. It's actually really cool looking. So what these are, so actually what you are seeing here is these wavering tone, this wavering tone right here, and this wavering tone right here. those are called risers. So those are discrete events related to geomagnetic storming, and they will happen sometimes instead of chorus events. So this was a rare capture of discrete risers, and that happened October 22nd. So I was actually quite happy about this, and I went through my data, and I'm in the process of trying to pull the duration of this event. So I also looked back in my email, and I noticed that on this day there was G6 storming conditions. So that absolutely makes sense. Risers were captured on a receiver in the UK multiple times when there was chorus events, or when there was geomagnetic storming events, and it was nice that they were captured here. For how it sounds, it actually sounds really cool too. Here, I will play it for everyone here. Make sure to turn up your volume. So you can hear those two rising tones. So those are called risers, and they will happen during those storming events. So that was pretty cool that I actually captured that on the VLF system. Other than that, that's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay. We talked to Jules already. So next on the list is Scotty, WA2 DFI. Go ahead, Scotty. Scotty, are you there?
Yeah, okay, there are the buttons. I had it minimized here and I couldn't. Okay, so can you see me and hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, you've been really busy these past couple of weeks with the work stuff, so haven't got much done, and I haven't even really had time to review the emails that have been coming in, but got a little bit of chance tonight, and they look pretty good. So that's about it from here. Back to you, Dave.
Okay. And next on the list is Tom in 5EG, and I know he has some news.
Oh, good evening, Dave, everyone on the group. Got the rework number 2 done to the clock module, and that seems to do the job. It's causing the synthesizer chip to get clocked. I can program the synthesizer, and it's putting out a 10 meg ref, and I hypothesize it's putting out 122.88 to the FPGA, RFM, and leaf module, but there's no good place to probe that. But it would make sense if it's putting out the correct ref clock frequency. The others are okay. Let me share a screen. I got one picture. I managed to take some really awful pictures. Does this picture show up?
Yes.
Okay. This is a really lousy picture. If you look at the big black chip in the center, that's the synthesizer. And the two capacitors at 12 o'clock to the chip just north of it, AC couple the signal from the driver to the synth chip, and they needed a pair of pull downs. So there's a couple of 120 ohm resistors, which are vertical, soldered onto those coupling capacitors. And the resistors are 0805s, which are 50 mils wide, and the caps are a little narrower, probably about 30 mils or 20 mils, something. At any rate, those pull downs even though they're pointed up, they're pulling down, seem to work. It gives about 1.2 volts peak to peak on each signal line to the synthesizer chip. So differentially, it's about 2.4 volts. And that makes the synthesizer chip happy. So it's now putting out the right frequencies and seems to work. I need to get a better camera set up. This is the only half decent picture. The rest are far worse than this. So it takes a little bit of dexterity to get those things soldered in, but they do the job. So my view is the clock module is probably functional now, and which is good news. We can program the clock. It seems to do the right things. And I'll do some more checks later, but I think the 10 meg out and the 122.88 out are GPS locked with the crystal providing the short-term jitter performance. So that's good news. One module seems to be in good shape. And I've got a couple other things to do to be able to talk to the receiver, still have the SPI logic to debug, but once that's done, at least it'll mean we're talking to all the interfaces on the chip. So back to the group.
Tom, question about you have the blue wire to the board. What was the place where you soldered it on the second blue wire?
Yeah, so I picked as ground reference the place that that David had picked as ground for the rework wire. And so I still have the rework number 1 wire going over to the SMA connector as ground. And I picked that handy capacitor as a ground point just to minimize the amount of inductance in that short blue wire pulling down a pair of 120 ohm resistors. The 120 ohm resistors, that's a 50 megahertz clock rate. And so I was trying to keep the amount of inductance in that low. It's not bad because since they're differential drives, the amount of delta current in that wire is actually pretty small. It's DQ'd by the resistors. So I probably didn't need to be too worried about its inductance, but I just picked what I thought would be a fairly low inductance point to get it down to the ground plane.
Okay, that explains what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Yeah, as John had explained in our communications, there are termination resistors already there, but in his prototype, they were on the far side of the capacitor on the driving side. And in this design, in the circuit board, they got put on the synthesizer side, so weren't loading the driver chip. So it's being terminated still at the synthesizer end, but the driver needed some current feed to it.
Yeah, the driver on this is an pseudo ECL output, which is the old emitter coupled logic. So they're open emitters, and you gotta pull DC current through a transistor to get it to get a voltage swing. So it was a simple fix to do it this way. I read the manual on the synthesizer chip, and it requires its inputs to be AC coupled because it tries to bias itself at a different voltage than what the driver chip wants to put out. So just putting those 2 resistors and not touching anything else turned out to be a real straightforward fix.
Yeah, it is. Turns out it's the actual crystal input that is being driven.
Yeah, the crystal, if you look at the white U-blocks part, up at its 1030 position, you'll see a kind of a metallized gold can. That's the 50 megahertz crystal. And it goes through a transformer, it goes through some circuitry, and you can't see the driver chip. It's hidden behind those 2 resistors, but that squares up the output of that chip before it feeds the synthesizer, and the synthesizer uses that to de-jitter and provide the reference frequencies from the GPS.
Yeah, but what's interesting is there are multiple inputs to the synthesizer, but I guess the prototype board that John used was set up to use the crystal input, So he put the oscillator into that one.
Yeah,
And then of course the idiosyncrasy of ECL, which has been true ever since day one, is that its outputs are terminated at the receiving end. So that's why they're open emitter. But you always have to remember, you got to have something loading it at the receiving end, which didn't work with capacitors in the way.
yeah. So at any rate, we can do a real cleanup on the final version, but this is good enough that the project can keep on going.
Should work fine.
Very good. Tom, when you, if you take another photograph, please send it to me and I'll put it on the website.
Okay, my camera was putting a little white circle in the center, which I assume is where it was trying to focus. And yet, even on those pictures, the focal point was usually, gosh, about a half an inch behind, further back on the board. And so I'm going to need to get a real camera, tripod, and a vise to hold the board, and stuff like that, just so I can do a decent job of focusing. So the handheld camera seems not to be quite good enough to get a picture of it.
Yeah.
So we have one thing left, and that's the SPI interface on the receiver. And once we get that going, I think we'll be through with test phase 1A. So that will be good. Of course, phase 1B starts the real hard work, and that'll all be Verilog work. So there's that's where we have to start doing some tough things. So we're getting there. Things are coming up. So I'm pleased with how clean everything's been on the prototype hardware so far. We've had very few of these kind of things, and most of the design work's been really excellent and seems to be working pretty well.
Good.
That's really good news. Scotty, how is the testing of the actual data engines coming?
I've been too busy on this work project to get started on those, but I have them here ready to go. I have to, there's some Verilog that I have to do to build up a loopback test that I have the loopback board. So it's just a matter of getting in there and actually modifying the test that I wrote for the off the shelf boards, just modifying the pinout so it'll work with the real board.
Mm-hmm.
And the project I've been working on at work is an ARIA 10 project. And the ARIA 10 is a lot different than the Max 10. And some of the problems we've been having there are educational for the Data Engine Mark II that we're going to be working on next when we get to that point. So I think it's bad and it's good. It's bad that I'm having a couple of problems that I shouldn't have had, but it's good that we've had them here on a board that we can fix them on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we won't make those mistakes on the next board, which will be ours. So,
Good.
so yeah, so I'm getting to the end of this project here at work. So the next on the list is setting up the real data engine and getting that set up, that tested, and then sent out to the same people that have the existing off-the-shelf boards. So I congratulate Tom on the debug of the clock module. That's great news to see that we can actually, the problems we've had have been simple enough that they can be fixed with some rework. Sometimes that's not the case, in which case you have to start over, which is not a good thing. And or you have to make some compromises. as in the RE10 project I've been working on. Some of the things that were incorrect were just not fixable the way you want to fix them, but you fix them enough so that you can get it to work, so that you can do your testing.
Mhm.
But it looks like here we got it fixed up enough that a few modifications to the circuit board, we could build the final ones.
Yep.
Maybe a little premature, but getting close.
That will be really nice.
Yeah, I
Yes.
still have one bug. I can't talk to the GPS module over I2C. It answers, it acts all the reads and writes. It just gives me the wrong answer. And now that I have internet back, I may be able to track down. I'm sure it's got to be a problem most new folks run into until they find the magic thing.
I think it's a hardware problem.
I don't know. No, I don't. The one rework fixed the addressing issue, and I'm getting correctly ACT on the I2C bus by the part. But it always answers FF on anything I try to read or write. And so I don't quite know what that means. There is a bit that says, should the I2C interface go to sleep after 1.5 seconds? And I turned that off so it wouldn't go to sleep. It's one of these, the description for the bit is a triple negative. So it's one of those kind of not well-written things. But I turned it off, but I'm speculating, I turned it off about a minute after turning on the unit, because that's how long it takes the debugger to come up and all of that stuff. So I went ahead and flashed that bit into the flash of the GPS module, hoping that it'll take effectivity before the I2C has a chance to go to sleep, and then maybe it'll never sleep. I don't know. If that doesn't work, then it's a hunt for the application engineer.
So which part is this that is just the part on the RF module?
No, it's on the clock module. It's the GPS ZF9T module.
The GPS itself. Okay.
Right.
Can you set that through the USB interface?
Yes, I've been doing all the setting on it through the USB, and I set it to put out the correct 4.096 meg on one time pulse and a 1 pulse per second on the other one. And
you set that particular bit you're trying to change?
I have been doing that, and yet it seemed not to do anything.
Yeah.
And so I went ahead and put it into Flash so that it will be effective as soon as the GPS module powers up and reads its own onboard flash. And I haven't gotten back yet to see if that fixes the problem.
Have you talked to John Ackerman about this, because he's got a lot of experience with that module?
Yeah, I don't think he's ever used the I2C on it.
Okay.
I'm wondering if something else is hacking you on I2C, and you're not really talking to the chip.
That's possible. There are two devices, the synthesizer chip and the GPS chip are on the same I2C lines. Right. But I know the synthesizer chip is correctly talking to its address because I can read out its config parameters. I can program the entire synthesizer program, which is 550 bytes or so, into the synth chip, and that all works correctly. Right. So I'm pretty sure the synthesizer chip's reading and writing correctly. And they have different addresses. The address there is different than the address on the GPS.
Now, just curious, do you have a magnetometer on the system?
No.
Okay, so that wouldn't be hacking you.
No, there. I don't remember which I2C those go on, but there are 5 I2C or 4 I2C interfaces in the system.
Oh, okay.
And all 4 of them are working. So the ident proms and we can toggle the relays on the receiver module. So we got all 4 of those working.
Yeah. And the magnetometer would be on the leaf module, the leaf connector. That's where you
Yeah.
plug it on. So it'd be on a separate I2C port.
Okay.
Right, I don't have any I2Cs going over there.
I wasn't sure if they were sharing the same, but it may be somebody's ghosting rather than.
That's a possibility. In looking through the data, it looks like the addressing for the GPS unit's correct, but who knows what could be going on. Normally, when I get a wrong address, I get a knack from the client device.
Right.
And if it knacks, that tells you, you've got an addressing issue.
But you get an ACK, but FF for the data.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hmm. And that's on the I2C port that works for the synthesizer.
Correct.
Which means that there is a valid pull-up on the data line.
Yeah, it means all the wiring is the schematic. If it's wired exactly like the schematic shows, then it should all be wired correctly.
And it will be all that's electronic. So there's no.
So I'm sure there's some magic unlock bit or something that I've got to set that I've overlooked. And that'll, I just need to go find a group. And someone posted something about a Discord group a couple of weeks ago. I just didn't have internet access at the time, and I'll go dig back through the notes and see if I can find that.
Are you using a bus analyzer?
No, I don't have one.
It reminds me of the Monty Python skit where the insurance guy is saying, looking through and saying, well, it says right here on page 35 that no claim you make will ever be paid. It's like, no data you read will ever be correct.
Anyway, the data is coming out of the part on the USB interface.
You're just driving the write-only memory.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, that's the only flaw we got left over on the clock. And, there's a good chance it's a software or a configuration setting bug. And so I'm not too worried about it right now. My confidence in the clock module is pretty high now. It seems to be doing its thing mostly.
How are we going to probe the 122 megahertz?
It's difficult to get to on the data engine adapter. The way to get to it is I got to turn the whole assembly upside down so I can get to the circuit side of the receive module. And there's a couple of resistors there where it shows up. And so I'll have a place to probe. I have a 100 meg scope. And so I'll see something at 122. It just will look awful.
Another thing you might do in the FPGA code is you might do some kind of counter and verify that you're getting a clock, and B, that it's the speed you think by beating it against a known clock, doing a counter.
Yeah, I modified John's clock builder file. He outputted it to the FPGA and to the leaf module, and I changed it to also output it to the RF module so that it goes to 3 different places. And that was real easy, just enable another output buffer.
Well, the other thing you could do is you could set it to, 20 megahertz or 30 megahertz, something lower, and just see that it comes out that way. And you can set it to something known and move it and set it to another something known, and then you can conjecture that you're getting the right frequency.
Yeah, I think I can just flip it over and probe the resistors, and it'll have a kind of my scope, when you go above its frequency limit, it kind of looks triangular rather than sine wave.
Yeah.
And so, if I see kind of a triangular-ish looking without the sharp points signal, it's probably a sine wave.
Do you have a spectrum analyzer?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'm pretty confident that the programming and the chip works. So if I see any wiggling on those lines, we'll assume that it's putting out 122.88.
Yeah, I can tell you with a 10 to 20 megahertz scope, 125 megahertz comes out as nothing.
Yeah. This is, I've got a 30 gosh, it was made in the early 80s by Tektronix. It was a low-cost analog scope. And I bought it just after it came out. And it's, hang on, I'll come back.
Like a 2210?
No, it's a 20, it's a 2235.
I'm not sure how fast that one rolls off.
Yeah, it's
They
spec to
generally
100
don't roll
megs.
off fast.
Pardon?
They generally, especially Tektronix, don't roll off very fast. So you certainly see 122 megahertz. You just won't have full amplitude.
Right, right.
I have a 475A, one of the old analog scopes that's
Yeah.
rated 250 megahertz, and I can see a 440 waveform on it.
Okay.
That's got a response way up there. But
Yeah, this one, I think I've seen stuff as
Digital's
high
a
as
little
200 megs on it.
yeah,
Yeah, this
I
says that the
believe that.
bandwidth is 100 at 5 millivolts per division. So
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll see something. I mean, it's a classic analog scope, 2-channel delayed sweep. They came out really budget priced, and then within about 3 years, I think they'd doubled or tripled in price.
Yeah, it's a good scope.
Yeah, they're decent scopes.
How hard is it to take your code and pop it on so that, say, I could power up the clock module?
Yeah, right now, you have to use the localhost data engine protocol. And I've got a CLI and a Python module I wrote. So you type in the magic module read and write commands to the particular module number, the particular port on the module, and the command you want. One of those right now is what trips the code to download the clock program to the synthesizer chip. I haven't gone and fixed that yet, so that when you turn it on, it does it. Right now, the way that program gets input is you run a Windows utility called Clock Builder Pro. You tell it how you want the chip to work. It outputs a text file of all the registers. You run that into a column editor to translate all those register commands into tuples that are then pasted into an array of C structures. And then that's embedded in the C code, and that's how the C code programs the synthesizer chip. So super duper unfriendly.
Well, I've used the clock builder.
Yeah. So it's the clock builder. You can program the chip on the I²C. And so if there were a couple of square pins hanging out there, you could probably clip onto it and get it. I don't think the clock module has those pins hanging out in space to get to. But the Clock Builder Pro has the I²C utility built in, and the FPGA is pretty much emulating the function of that. It's got, you have to do some weird things. You got to send a couple of instructions, and then you got to go to sleep for 300 milliseconds, and then you got to do some more registers. And so in the FPGA, you can't really sleep the FPGA. So the code actually goes in and suspends the task that's writing it for 300 milliseconds and kicks off other unrelated processes in the FPGA code. It's actually got an RTOS in it. And then when that task becomes eligible to run again, once it bubbles up the priority list, it'll continue on. And that seems to work pretty well. So it's doing a real-time task switching in the middle of the programming. So it's a bit of a challenge to try to import code. So I just did it all by hand, at least for this first build.
So, Tom, when you get to the point where you think you're done making any mods to the clock module, I want to document the rework, and anyone who wants their boards reworked, we can swap out boards. I've got extras here. I can rework them, send them out, and swap them back for the ones that you have.
Okay, I've been documenting the reworks on the my GitHub. I've got a GitHub set up for the TangerineSDR development and the TangerineSDR utilities. And under the TangerineSDR development, there's an issues list, and I've got the reworks, at least rework number 1's documented. Rework number 2 is partly documented. And I haven't gone back to clean up the issue on that for what actually fixed the problem. But I'm trying to keep a documented list of all the reworks on GitHub.
Okay, so far you just have the pull downs and capacitors and the grounding of the address pin, right? Just those two?
Yeah, the rework number 1 and rework number 2.
Okay.
And Nathaniel had a suggestion just to use GitHub, and that seems to be working great. Real simple, real straightforward.
Yep.
So that was a good recommendation.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll take care of the rework on mine. Not a problem there, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try to keep track of the whereabouts of all the boards and what the revision level is.
Yeah.
So we can make sure everybody has the latest and greatest, and nobody can say, "Oh, well, I can't do the rework." So if they want help, we can make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Some of that's hard rework for some people. So
yeah, now you need a tiny tip and a steady hand and a good microscope.
Yeah, I was fortunate to have about 5 120 ohm 0805 resistors in the junk box. And I tried to grab one with a pair of forceps, and I think it achieved orbit sometime about 4 seconds later. Never to be found again.
Why you have to have spares.
Hang on, let me grab the phone here.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I have 2 kinds of tweezers, some that are anti-magnetic and some that are magnetic. The magnetic ones are annoying until you realize maybe it's not going to fly off the tweezers.
Yeah.
The surface mount components must have nickel in their end plating, and the magnetic tweezers, they stick to them.
Okay.
Which,
I know the
when you're
biggest
trying
problem
to
is
place the component and leave it there is a pain. But
you get a little flux on your tweezers and they stick.
Yep, that too.
Yeah. Well, I had a no clean flux pen, which kind of looks like a magic marker, and it's got a felt tip. But after 15 years, it dried out, and so I ended up using flux core solder, which is like 31 solder or something. I had some like 12 mil no flux solder, but it didn't work. And I ended up having to use flux core solder. So the little flux pens were available from Mauser. They were only like $2 or something. Those were super handy. For surface mount stuff, you just swipe over the pads with it, and then you could use the real fine core no flux solder, and that worked great. But the flux core worked fine too.
So what diameter solder are you using? Is it like
gosh, this stuff is got to be at least 35 years old. It's tin lead, flux core, what everybody used in the 1980s solder.
But is it 010 diameter or 015? What?
Oh, it's 031.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's big stuff.
The width of the part.
Yeah, I use 015 for.
I use 010.
Yeah, maybe it's 015. I had some real fine stuff. But of course, when you get solder that fine, there's no room for the flux in it.
Yeah. Well, I have 015 that's got no clean in it, and it does have some flux.
Yeah.
And then for stuff I need a little bit more activity, I use 025, which has.
Yeah. I even have 010 that has flux in it. So
it's 031. It's 031.
That's what
Gosh.
we used to use.
So I
Yeah.
use on my tube radios.
Yeah, oh gosh, no, we used to use the like 060 solder or
Right.
050 on the,
But
yeah, and your
062
American Beauty soldering iron.
062 is the thickness of your PC board.
Yeah. So
You
this
should have
stuff is,
seen that soldering iron my father used to use on his tube Heath kits. It's about this long, this big.
yeah,
around.
I
Well,
always used a
Scotty,
Willer
Looked like-
soldering gun.
Looked like a curling iron without the
Yeah.
yeah, let's
So-
see, this
so-
is the,
yeah.
so
yeah,
that's what I used. It's got a like a 3/32 chisel tip.
You did the rework with that?
I did.
Oh, I got a lot more respect
Wow.
for you now. That's amazing. Not
Well,
temperature
I
controlled.
can use one like that, but
15
it has a very
non-gun.
fine conical tip on it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's like a 15-watt non-temperature controlled iron.
Actually, it's a 45-watt non-temperature controlled
Yeah.
iron.
Oh, you
Now-
burn the board out with that.
Yeah,
I
it's
use it.
built a lot of SMT stuff.
One of the things I found is really nice is to have two irons when you're taking stuff off. Makes it
Mhm.
way easier. I mean, you could do it with one, but
Yeah, that's what I have here too, including a hot air.
yeah, and if you use
Hot
two
air and
irons, then you can
tweezers
set the
and-
temperature of the irons lower, and you are much kinder to the PC board.
Yeah, when my
But
wife
Laura-
saw me using that thing, she said, surely somebody makes something better.
I should
Yeah,
take one
so-
of my spare irons and send it to you. I can't believe you can do that rework with that iron.
Yeah, I need a temperature controlled and fine point. But I think the flux pin and the small solder makes it go a lot easier.
What I
Yeah.
use for flux is get liquid rosin flux and then very
A little
small
bottle,
syringe.
a bottle with the pin on it, right?
Yeah,
No, I get we have syringes, and
yeah,
unfortunately, most of the needles are diagonal cut, so I actually file the point off of it to be flat cut.
uh-huh.
I presume you can buy them too, but that's what the stock room has.
Yeah, I had real good luck with the flux pen because you could just wipe the SMT pads with the pen and it seemed to work pretty well.
Right.
Yeah, the tip I have is a little finer than that, Mike.
Well, this is a 35 water. And then for desoldering,
There you go. Now that's a soldering iron. Yeah. There you
Okay, now who does surface mount with a soldering gun?
go.
oh, I got those too. Oh, this is 100 watt, complete with the asbestos board.
Scotty's diving into the parts.
There
This
you go.
will draw blood.
Yep.
And this is an 80-watt iron. But it's temperature controlled,
Yeah, if
so
you temperature control it, that's good.
yeah. And the thing I like about this one is it's a Wes 80, came off of a Wes 80, so it's got silver contacts, thermal contacts inside. You could turn this on, and in about 8 seconds it melts solder.
Right.
And you say, well, who cares? You know, what are you so impatient you can't wait a few seconds? But the advantage is when you touch it to something that's a heat sink, it blows a lot of heat because it turns the element on. So anyway, well,
So-
like my theory is if you can't draw blood with the tip, it's not fine enough.
So
Yeah.
Tom and
Depends on how hot it is, Scotty.
No, I'm talking about when it's cool, when it's cold.
Oh, that's right. If it's hot, you cauterize it.
That's right.
Scotty,
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that Tom and David can do their own soldering, but maybe Nathaniel and I'll let you do it.
I don't know.
I can do
No
that.
805s.
I could do that, but I'm not sure I'd have a working module at the end.
Yeah. One of the things I had to do on the one I'm working on now is I had to take two signals that were adjacent to each other with two 0402s and reverse them.
Yeah.
So I had to, I ended up using a resistor lead, believe it or not, and going up and around, but the resistor lead is about more than half the width of the 0402 pad.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty difficult. And then it's so easy to lift one of those 0402 pads off the board with too much heat.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
really, that rework was not much fun.
10 o'clock, guys. I got to take off. See you next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Hey,
Now-
good.
Jules.
One of the things that I'm wanting to use this GPS module is I promised John that I'd help him with a some sort of a piece of code that would let him program the boards without going through everything, going through all the other commercial code.
Well, you have a clock module, right?
Yes,
So, but you just need the rework done on it.
I need the rework done. And I could do it. I was getting ready to do it. The first one didn't look too hard, but the this stack of resistors,
It's
I don't
actually
know.
not that hard, but
I could
know,
probably do it, but I just
right.
want to make sure it works. Instead of making a $200 piece of junk.
Yeah, that's,
You know,
That's,
it's nice. The
possible.
capacitors you're tacking onto are fairly large.
Okay, I do see
They're
that
not
they're
0402s.
large and they have soldering ends.
Yeah.
And then you're just soldering to that other pin that where you found the
Right.
ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Very convenient ground for this patch.
I might be able to do it, but I have one of those battery pins. Do you guys know about those?
No.
battery pins.
Chinese, and they go from 0 to 300C really fast. It's amazing. And I've got a super tip.
So these are like the cold solder kits.
Well, let me show you what I'm.
So that the tip doesn't burn you
No,
even right after you soldered. Okay. I've seen
it will
those.
burn you.
I think the way those work is they actually
He's
feed the
pulling it out of the
through-
trees.
through the joint. And so it heats the joint itself up, so the tip doesn't get hot.
So it's. Whoop,
I see.
this. It has a little,
Little soldering pen. Interesting.
yeah.
Oh,
And these are $50.
Huh.
And you have different tips. I have this tip. I don't know if you can see that. It's
that looks
relative.
pretty- That looks pretty good.
It's pretty fine. The other one is round, but it's I have a chisel point too.
So that pointed one, can you poke yourself and draw blood?
Yes,
Is that sharp?
yes.
Yeah, that's a good point then.
But that's what I have. And then you just plug this into, I actually have a deal where I plug it into a DeWalt
Battery pack.
drill battery pack, and then I have a portable soldering iron.
Oh, nice.
So, but anyway, that's what I was going to do it with. And I do have smaller diameter solder than Tom.
And a smaller tip, I can see.
Yeah, but it,
Yeah. 031 we would use for basic PC board work with dip chips and things like that. But if you have a light enough hand to use it to get that done with 031, that's pretty good.
this says T36 on the tip. I don't know what that means. Does the other one have a number on it? No. But these actually are pretty amazing little soldering irons coming out of China.
Hmm.
Yeah, where'd you get it from?
can't remember. I don't know. They sell them all over Amazon and stuff now, but I can't remember.
So by Chinese, you mean no brand?
Yeah, they have some name and it's different on each one, but they all look the same.
I'll
They all
have to
come
look
out of
for
the
it.
same factory.
Yeah, they come
Right.
out of the same factory in China, and then 30 or 40 guys rebrand them and sell them. They come in a very nice cardboard box, all nicely wrapped up.
All those things do.
Hey, what's really funny is, you've heard about the Baofeng radios, right? The cheap Chinese HTs. Well,
Yeah.
now Baofeng is having trouble because their radios are being counterfeited.
Yes.
So now they have, so here we got the world's cheapest radio, and then they have instructions on how to tell a counterfeit one from a real one. And I'm just going like, really? So how much worse is the counterfeit one than the real one?
Who knows?
Counterfeiting the counterfeit. This
Well,
is
and
good karma. This is justice.
Yes, this is.
And it could be the same board manufacturer inside.
Oh, it probably is, but it just has, I mean, it's subtle things like the on the grill of the HT, there's plastic bars on vertical bars on one and not on the other.
Yeah.
So you can take a look and you can just look at the grill and you can see if this is a fake one or not. But
Yeah.
anyway, just thought that was kind of humorous that here we go with the guys that stole basically the whole HT market now are having their market stolen too.
Yeah, what goes around comes around.
That's right. But the upshot is pretty soon, you won't be able to buy a decent HT at all because they'll all be counterfeiting each other and cutting the prices until the quality control is zero.
That is not a good situation.
No, so you just use a Kenwood, then you don't have to worry, but then you pay $300. So, but you know what the good news is? Now you can buy Kenwoods for $50 at the Hamfest because they've knocked the bottom out of the market. And most people don't understand the difference between a Baofeng and a Kenwood. The fact that like one has real filters in it and the other one doesn't. And so it's
Well, and I have seen filter sets available for those things.
For HTs though?
For the HTs, yeah.
Really?
Well, not to, I don't know if they fit in the boxes, but if you take the chip, and there are people who sell filter sets to make them legal.
Well, it's interesting because if you buy these HTs on Amazon or on the Beat Tech website, which is a USA distributor, they make a big deal out of saying, we're FCC certified, we're type accepted, here's our FCC ID. And so you could certainly go on eBay and you could buy stuff that doesn't have the ID.
Right.
Tons of them. And you could tell, I think they must be selling to preppers who don't understand radio, because there's an HT you could buy that has a 9,500 milliamp hour battery that is the same size as the 1,800 milliamp hour battery in the regular radios. So this is just a remarked battery and it's not really 9,500. And then they've got HTs that are 30 watts, which is just like not possible. And so, but a guy who doesn't know anything about radio, 30 watts, that's better than the 20-watt one, right? So I'll buy that one. and so it's like, $40, $50 radio, and it's just marked wrong. There's just no way that it is what it is.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw one that was marked 300 watts, and I don't know.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible because and you go. I looked at one that was called a UV9, a UV-S9, and then there's a UV-9S. Okay.
Oh.
Now, are those the same radio or no? They're not. Well, you go to the Baofeng website, the Chinese website, and they have UV-S9, big letters at the top, and then on the radio it says UV-9S stamped on the side of the radio.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have any idea what it really is.
Yep.
Just funny.
So I'm making progress here on the new HamSci workshop website. It is not done
Oh.
yet, but I can show you I'm making progress. HamSci 2023.
So are you definite with the facilities at Scranton yet, or are you still working it?
I would say I'm 98% definite. So there it is.
All right.
Open it up in a. So I got the University of Scranton graphics designers to make our logo this year. So you can see that
So-
it has.
Is
That's
that
And
the,
I see you get ARDC funding too. That's great. Has that been
I
approved?
do. Yes, I got the approval email today.
All right.
So
So-
yeah.
is that the curved lines? Are those out of the new Python software your students are working on?
I don't know if that's where they actually took them from. I showed them those figures. I did send them
Yes.
those figures. So they may have actually taken them from there, or they may have just looked at them and said, we're going to kind of make our own.
Oh, okay.
So the background is definitely Spectrum from Kiwi SDRs.
Yes.
So that is very much a SDR Spectrum. This is definitely, if not actually computed outputs, I think it's just inspired by the ray tracing design.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I basically gave them all of my talks that I gave in like the past, at DCC and the Hamvention over the past year. I showed them all these graphics, and this is what they came up with. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So I'm working on updating the invited speakers. So Joe Cuba, he's the person who writes Sammy 3. You all know Jesse Alexander from DCC. Chen Peng Yang, I did not change this yet, so I'm working on that, but this will be Dr. Patricia Reif from Rice University. Very impressive lady and professor. And yeah, so I'm working on getting this updated, but should be soon.
Any chance on getting the space weather woman, Samantha, back?
Well, she's certainly more than welcome. She's certainly invited to come, but she won't be an invited speaker this year. But I certainly hope she might attend. That would be really cool.
So as soon as you get the hotel information, we can make our reservations, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Is
Yep.
it going to be the same hotel? The
Yes.
yeah, the trains, the converted
Yes,
train
the one that you stayed at.
Yeah.
The
That's a cool
Radisson Hotel, Scranton. Yeah. It would be.
Nathaniel,
Yes.
I have a question about Christina.
Yes.
Is she continuing at Case, or is she moving somewhere?
I believe she's continuing at Case. So
Okay.
she will be working. I think she's working through another organization called SSI, the Space Science Institute.
Okay.
So I think this is actually who's funding her position. So then I think she'll be considered like a visiting scholar at Case.
Okay.
So she's
So-
not moving anywhere.
That's right. She's not moving anywhere.
Okay.
She's happy.
Well, it's always when somebody finishes their PhD, whether they're going to leave or stay, or
Yes.
most likely they leave.
Yes. I did encourage her to apply for the position at Scranton because we have a tenure track position there right now, but she said she really wants to stay in Cleveland right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, there's
that
all kinds of
confusing?
other reasons to
there
move or not
absolutely,
move.
yes, there are. But she said she's very excited to be working on this new project with the magnetospheric data.
Okay.
And I think research team, I think you can actually find her picture on this website. Right there she is.
Yep, there she is.
So SSI is in Boulder, but she's staying at Case?
I believe so.
Uh-huh.
Well, with computers now,
Well,
It-
yeah, we all work
it really
remote.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
except for walking down the hall and talking to people.
And Zoom certainly has made this easier.
Yes.
Nathaniel, could you please repeat the dates in March for the conference? Did you say 17th and, there you go. Yeah, 17th and 18th. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And so yes, this is the hotel. I'm actually quite excited about this.
You say it's about a 5-minute walk from the campus.
Yes, you do not even have to cross the street.
Walk right along the railroad tracks.
That's right. So this is the United States.
When you say you don't even have to cross street, that now I'm thinking of why did the chicken cross the road jokes.
Oh no.
I was thinking it's good for those of us who don't have permission to cross the street.
So right. So
We could come up with why did the engineer cross the road jokes now from now on.
here's the university. This is actually the building where we were planning on having the conference. This is
Yeah.
the Loyola Science Center.
That's where you aren't you in that building now?
Yes, my office is right
Right
here.
up there, yeah.
Yeah, on the first floor over there.
So it'll be in one of the theater rooms. What do you want to call them?
Yeah. Scranton PNC Auditorium.
The auditoriums, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you have your antennas up yet, Nathaniel?
No. I'm working on that, but I don't see that happening in time. Is amazing.
That's going to be part of the workshop.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be.
Bring your timing belt. You'll be put to work.
This
Bring
is
tools.
This is the room right here.
it's a lecture room.
It is a lecture hall. Yes.
I assume that, well, yeah, it's in the hotel, so will be breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the hotel, I assume.
No, that most of it is going to be at the university. So
it'll be at the cafeteria like the
no, we'll
radio
actually
camp?
we will actually have it in the Loyola Science Center lobby area, probably.
Oh, okay.
Loyola Science Center Scranton.
So it'll be the catered food instead of cafeteria type style.
That's right.
Okay.
Let's see. So let's see if I can find a picture of the nice bell lobby that they have here. This is kind of it. I mean, this is it. Open a new tab.
So that's where the food will be?
Yeah, it will be either here. I think what we're going to do is I think I'm going to have the food right out like a buffet style right outside of the auditorium.
Yeah.
And so you can grab the food, and then I think we'll have tables set up down here and probably up here. And there's also like a forum room. So you can just walk right out, grab your food. It's right there. And you can just kind of walk around and mingle.
Are we going to get, during some time while we're there, are we going to get tours of the labs and stuff like that?
We'll work something out like that. Yeah. So probably Saturday afternoon. Let's see. So we'll have breakfast and lunch will be over here. I think Friday night dinner. So we'll have the banquet Friday night, like usual, and that will be on campus. It will be in a different room that has a very nice view of the city. Images.scranton. Let's see. Images.google.com. Let's see. Rose Room, University of Scranton. I think this is where it's going to be. It has a nice overlook of the city over there. We'll do that Friday night. And then, but Saturday night, I think we're going to have the heavy hors d'oeuvres. We'll actually have that in the hotel over in this room.
So that'll be kind of like the social for DCC, that kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll have that Saturday night. So the Friday night's going to be on campus primarily because it's going to be a lot easier with the AV setup. So when we have Pat give the keynote speech, we'll have all the AV all taken care of there. I won't have to spend $1,500 at the last minute to get AV set up. That'll all be in place. And we'll have university catering for that. But I really wanted to have one nice event in the grand lobby of the hotel. So that'll be Saturday night.
Why not just have banquets both nights?
Well, we're still working on the menu, so we might. I have a budget number that I have to stay within for the food for the whole conference. So I basically have to see how that works out.
The hotel's probably going to be more expensive than the university, right?
Yes. So right now I'm probably looking. I probably have about $40 to $48 a person planned for the Saturday night event, and I probably have more around $20 a person for the Friday night event. I have to figure out how the bar is going to work. They do serve alcohol on campus, but it's, you can't pay for alcohol with NSF grant dollars. So obviously the easy way to go is you just make it a cash bar. But I'm not sure that the university, there's something about the university's liquor license may not allow for cash bars. They may have to be prepaid. So I still have to figure that out.
Oh.
I'm wondering if, we could sell like a drink tickets ahead of time or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And you can make soft drinks free and liquor tickets.
right. Yeah. We can make soft drinks for free, and that can all be included. And then like, if you want, on campus, it'd probably be beer and wine for Friday night. And as I said, probably we might do something where we sell tickets ahead of time for that. And then when it's at the hotel itself, they have a really nice bar in the back called Tracks. Well, you've been to Tracks, Scotty. Yeah, and that's just right off the side here. And that's a full service bar. So we could get a cash bar out here too. I'll have to see if we think that's necessary with Tracks being so close.
Well, and what you could do is you could put the free soft drinks out here, and then if you wanted alcohol, you could go back to the Tracks bar and get that.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, on campus, there's no alcohol there, but there are adult fermented grain beverages.
Right. Yeah. They actually do have, for catered events, you actually can get alcohol on campus, but to say I have to do things correctly with the way the grants work and everything. And so I'm still working on those details. But so it's coming together. And we're looking at the map. So so here's the Loyola Science Center, and then here's the hotel. And the distance between the two is like
Like
I
a
don't
quarter
know.
mile, right?
I think it's less than that. It's really, really, really short. Have another.
Contingency plan.
Yes.
You might want to think about a contingency plan of having some transportation available in the event of bad weather.
From here to there.
Yeah.
You just need an umbrella. It is really that close.
You don't get snow and stuff like that down there.
You can't, but really, it is that close. It is way harder. It's so much harder to drive from that hotel to here than it is to walk.
Okay.
Like,
it's like
and
across...
it's closer to go from the hotel to here than it is from like university parking to that building.
Yeah.
Like if you this is where the parking pavilion is. It's almost closer to walk from the hotel to the building than it is from University Parking Pavilion to our
Jay, if
building.
there was so much snow you couldn't walk there, the cars aren't going to be able to get there either.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, transportation for those that might have difficulty walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that looks like a $3 cab ride if there's such a thing.
Or
Yeah,
maybe the hotel itself could arrange, if they have a courtesy van.
They might be able to. I mean, where's the ruler here? It is 959 feet.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, if there was possible to have a contingency plan, maybe ask them, one of their courtesy vans for somebody who needs it because they just, they're just not capable of walking that. Forget the
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah, we can try. I'm sure we can work something out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Nathaniel, if you have to drive there, you have to go up and
Yeah,
around. You can't.
it's
get
actually-
across there, right?
Yeah, it's really difficult to drive from here to there because you actually can't just go out here and then go over here. Yeah, because this is one way this way, and that's like, one way that way. So you actually have to, what are some ways you can go? You can go out here, you can go this way, I think, and around, and then up and then that way. Or you can go this way up here, around the river that way, and then this way. It's actually really kind of tricky.
If I remember correctly, they do have airport. The hotel does have free shuttle service to the airport, if I remember correctly.
I believe that is true. And I will confirm that.
Yeah, there was and there is direct flight. There were direct flights. I haven't checked it, but there were direct flights from Detroit.
Yeah, hopefully. I know a bunch of things have changed since the pandemic. So hopefully a lot of that is still true. I know I'm flying direct from here to Chicago in December and back.
Better than taking the banana truck.
That's right, down Music Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I have the local amateur radio club, Murgas. They're going to be doing an amateur radio display in the display cases in the building as well. So when you walk in the building, there'll be all this amateur radio equipment on display with little descriptive cards. I think I will probably talk to the other amateur radio club and see if they want to do a special event station too.
Well, guys, I'm gonna say 73.
All right, 73. And I think I will too. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, I'm pulling the plug too. 7-3, everybody. Catch you next week. Oh, by the way, Nathaniel, is there going to be a QSO party, Solar Eclipse QSO party this Thursday meeting?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, see you then. 7-3, everybody. Take care.
7-3.
7-3.
73.